thing has always been true throughout my years of covering video games. Solo game development is very challenging. Still, there are defined points in gaming history where a solo developer comes out of nowhere and just blows you away. Some easy examples are Stardew Valley, Axiom Verge, and Animal Well. These games scream passion. While playing, it's as if you're also experiencing the developers' years of 3 a.m. tweaks. You know, the doubt that they must have felt while working in a silo, the frustration of ever-changing gaming trends, and the new ideas that crop up towards the end of development that will inevitably delay the game. I encourage that you look out for some of these elements the next time that you're playing an indie game, and I'm sure you'll have a unique experience. However, one point that I'd like to lean on is passion. These solo developers love what they're doing, but that's probably the easy part. Now the tricky part comes from creating something that resonates with a community of gamers craving something new. Creature Keeper was crowdfunded back in 2019, and I ended up taking some time to read the updates provided by Fervir throughout the game's development, and even though I've never spoken to this person, I empathize with their creative process, the roadblocks they hit, the trials they had to overcome, dealing with real-life situations, and the struggle of going through self-doubt that anyone would enjoy the game are evident in these blogs. Well, I'm actually very happy to report to Fervir and the gaming community that he has something special here. But I think that's always been the case with Creature Keeper, so let's get into the review. Creature Keeper is not a Pokemon clone. I just wanted to get that out of the way at the beginning. The game opens with your protagonist named Blank, beginning his Creature Keeper training. Humans and creatures live harmoniously in this world, but that hasn't always been the case. The supporting cast in the opening hours is a little challenging to follow, but the true adventure reveals itself once the pacing finds a rhythm. The entire setup is a bit unconventional, so maybe it's best to expect to feel a little lost as you interact with your friends and build out the game's lore. Eventually, and without warning, corruption begins to spread across the land, making creatures dangerous and revealing a possible antagonist. The adventure kicks off with finding a collar used to control monsters. However, no one in the town has any idea what it does, so you're sent to speak to other creature keepers around the world and hopefully restore peace along the way. The issues of this region go much deeper than this collar though, which had me eager to explore every new town throughout the adventure. You can pick up side quests, find special items, and uncover plenty of lore while talking to NPCs. None of these concepts are delivered in an overly heavy way, with the tone balancing the weight of some narrative beats against fun scenarios. While Blank is a rather bold lead who will speak his mind, the charming NPCs leave just as much of an impact on the enjoyment of this narrative, so I definitely need to call that out. We'll likely get into that more in this review, but one of the best aspects of Creature Keeper is found in its gameplay loop. If the narrative becomes exhausting, you can spend time on side quests, organizing your creatures and pocket garden, discovering new equipment, exploring your bestiary, customizing creatures with hats, rerolling skill gems, and a few other things if you could imagine. These systems have an incredible synergy that I couldn't overlook. It's as if the game doesn't mind how you approach it. Eventually, you'll want more from it, and then it delivers. Speaking purely about the story, there's an incredibly deep, unassuming epic here that reveals itself within the first 3 hours and doesn't actually let go. I had to talk myself out of only doing story quests because I wanted to see what would happen next, but if you're only playing the story, I think you'll have a good time. Looking back at how this game started, the creature taming and action systems have gone through many changes. In its current form, combat can be played strategically, at a slower pace, or through brute force attacks. You're encouraged to exploit enemy weaknesses by utilizing one of 3 attack types. It's almost like Ys in a way, where you can use a specific weapon type against an enemy to cause greater damage. The creatures you tame also have an attack type to consider when calling them to the field. Unlike Pokemon, you don't directly control your creatures. They kinda just do their own thing and assist you with attacks on a cooldown. You do have some agency over these attacks and even their base stats via skill gems, so it's important to maintain a balanced team for whichever enemies you encounter. After my first few hours, I was a little disappointed that I wasn't encouraged to swap out my party more often, but that's when I discovered the benefits of the bestiary and using different creatures. The bestiary acts as a companion to learning about the creatures in the field. As you fight, befriend, and hit milestones with them, you unlock special bonuses like HP increases, easier fights against that enemy type, and a way to expand your party and seed size. This intuitive system has a nice UI that shows you slowly sketching the creature as you unlock nodes. That said, unlocking all the nodes requires you to befriend and utilize the creatures in battle, among other tasks. I found myself forgetting about the system for an hour or two at a time, but as soon as I felt any fatigue with progression, I navigated to the bestiary, unlocked some new stuff, and returned to the game with a refreshed party and better stats, alleviating any monotony I was experiencing before. Creatures have skill slots and can be equipped with skill gems. These are pretty unique in their effects, allowing you to really define your party and playstyle. Further, you can bust out the pocket garden where you place statues of your creatures and plant seeds around them to benefit from their effects. This feature takes a bit of hands-on time before you fully understand it, but again, it breaks up the monotony and fatigue and you can access it at any time. As you progress, you'll unlock other crafting methods and you'll even be able to summon more creatures to the field at once to speed through the fights. Stage design is kind of straightforward, but the environments aren't exactly basic. There are branching paths, obstacles blocking progression, maze-like areas, puzzles for special equipment, challenge battles for seeds, and other objectives likely tied to ongoing subquests. The map could have been more intuitive in these moments. While you can open up the menu to see your current area's exits, it doesn't actually really help when you're lost. Fast travel points are few and far between, and the full region map mostly just shows you quest markers that give you a general idea of where something is. You'll get lost, or maybe even frustrated when you're moving too slowly because you have someplace to be, but patience is a virtue, and you'll eventually find ways to get around quicker. As I progressed, Creature Keeper became a game about discovery and player agency. There's very little hand-holding, and the accessibility systems pretty much stop at a tips section and the ability to customize key bindings, so expect to be challenged. Still, every discovery is a step forward. I don't want you to think this game is cryptic though. While there are puzzles that you might not understand when you first encounter them, everything will eventually make sense. The world building undergoes significant evolution throughout the game, which should overshadow any lingering frustrations about a puzzle that stumped you. While everything works together here, I need to mention the biggest downside of this game: quality of life. You see, the menus are very difficult to navigate. At times, I felt like I was fighting against them, especially while navigating the pocket garden. Even the act of befriending creatures by giving them berries is a struggle because you want to serve them the berry that makes them the happiest. But currently, you can't mix berry selections. Further, it's easier to exit the menu to see what a different berry type is than navigating up the menu to remove the berry and add a new one. However, I don't see these issues as detrimental to the core experience of the game. While they are frustrating, I managed. Still, during my time, I did experience a couple of crashes and soft locks along with placeholder item codes displaying when I picked things up. A launch day patch is meant to address some of these bugs, but it's worth mentioning here. This developer has been working on this game for nearly 14 years, so I have no doubt quality of life updates will follow. And lastly, the thing I need to mention the most is that the soundtrack truly caps off this adventure and enhances the enjoyment tenfold. While playing, you'll be graced with some of the coolest action RPG tracks that you've ever heard during every scene, fight, and region. I was simply blown away. The sound cues even matter, with creature grunts and elemental noises signaling when you should probably dodge. I'll admit, I even left the menu music playing at the start because it's just so good. I believe this soundtrack was composed by Sam English. And if you're working on an indie project right now, scoop this dude up, because I need more music. Creature Keeper stands alongside the solo-developed indie greats that came before. The synergy of systems working seamlessly together across the entire adventure shows an uncanny talent for reining in indie ambition and focusing on what makes the game fun and unique. The narrative manages to rival retro adventures that begin with an unassuming quest and uncovers so much more about the region and characters, creating a gameplay experience that I'll gush about for years to come. Menu navigation and other quality of life adjustments are desperately needed, but I can't deny that I had an amazing time discovering this game. Now, time to listen to that soundtrack again. Noisy Pixel is giving Creature Keeper a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.